usually don't deal with relief disaster management and all, right? But as soon as lockdown was as the lockdown started, we were just sitting in our rooms, and then we were like, it has passed 1 week, and we were waiting for the government to see if the government is doing anything, or if the communities are doing anything, or if anyone in the non-profit sector were doing anything. Then we realized that by the 10th day of the lockdown, we realized that uh, for the last mile communities where we're working, nobody was doing anything. So me and my friend, we were discussing, and I was just telling him that we have to do something. Now that time, my friend said, "What will we do?"
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Northeast India talk series of Humans of Mitti Ke Rang. Today, I would like to begin with an short poem from हरिवंश राय बच्चन कि लहरों से डरकर नैया पार नहीं होती, कुछ किए ही बिना जय जयकार नहीं होती, और कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती. This line truly resonates with the persona today we have. Today, we have Mathanmi Hungyo, who is a professional social worker who has completed Masters in Social Work from Delhi School of Social Work with specialization in family and children, urban and rural communities as well as conflict mitigation and peace building. He has been part of SEVA, that is Self-Employed Women's Association, Center for Equity Studies, and APDP Kashmir as a part of his fieldwork. He is also a change loomer by Prava and a Wipro Fellow under Wipro Foundation. He is also a member of District Level Committee for Monitoring and Evaluation of National Social Assistance Program under the Ministry of Social Welfare, Government of India, and also a nodal officer for the Control Room of COVID-19 for Kamjong District in Manipur. He is director of RREA, a non-profit organization based in Imphal, and a founder of Teach for Northeast. He launched Teach for Northeast with a dream that every children of the region has access to quality education and a safe space to grow. This realization and passion led to rich Teach for Northeast journey. His interest area has been education, public health, livelihood, sports, farming, sustainable development, and indigenous community knowledge. And it's my pleasure and honor to let you know that he recently has been felicitated with India's COVID-19 Soldier Award for his selfless service towards the society amid the spread of coronavirus pandemic. And for your kind information, that COVID-19 Soldier Award is the country's largest rewards and recognition program to honor inspiring acts of bravery, compassion, and kindness in our fight against COVID-19. So, Mathanmi sir, on behalf of Humans of Mitti Ke Rang, I would like to welcome you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for having me here. I hope we can indulge in a lovely conversation in the next 1 hour.
Yeah, sure, sir. So, like I have introduced about your work for the COVID-19, sir. So, like, sir, COVID-19 thing that you did, all of the crowdfunding, the materials that you managed. So, how did you single-handedly manage all these processes, sir?
Yeah, so it's very interesting actually. Our organization usually don't deal with relief disaster management and all, right? But as soon as lockdown was as the lockdown started, we were just sitting in our rooms, and then we were like, it has passed 1 week, and we were waiting for the government to see if the government is doing anything, or if the communities are doing anything, or if anyone in the non-profit sector were doing anything. Then we realized that by the 10th day of the lockdown, we realized that uh, for the last mile communities where we're working, nobody was doing anything. So me and my friend, we were discussing, and I was just telling him that we have to do something. Now that time, my friend said, "What will we do? We don't have anything, right?" So I said, "We'll figure it out. We'll do something." So that night, I sat down, and suddenly we thought that we'll start with a small crowdfunding, right? And then we started through Instagram, small crowdfunding through my profile, and then reach out to some of the friends. That's how it slowly started. And then after that, crowdfunding started, and we started delivery of some rations and other things. Then Wipro Foundation came into the picture, and then they were very much happy to assist us and then to reach out to more families. And then through Wipro Foundation, we were able to provide to 1,200 families rations of rice, dal, and then soap, right? And then after that, we look around, and then we in the PHCs that was there, and in the CHCs that was there, we saw that there was not even one PPE, right? One PPE kit. And that time was the start of the lockdown. And then even in the state also, it was very hard to procure PPE kits, right? So we thought that we have to keep this, because the threat was not just of the national threat, because we have a huge borderline with Myanmar. So it was again international, and its borders, right? So it was an international threat as well. So we thought that we have to equip the PPEs for emergency, and then so many things might come up. So we reached out to Ajim Premji Foundation, and then fortunately for us, they say that, okay, because again, it's a last mile communities, and then we are working, and this is a place where there are not much resources, right? So they said that, okay, we'll go forward with it. And then through the collaboration with Ajim Premji and the government, we brought in 300 PPE kits, and then 700 N95 masks. That time when there was not even a single PPE in the district. So we airlifted through the Indian Air Force flight, and then it was brought to Imphal. And then through that, we started distributing it, right? And then after this, we were posting in Instagram and social media that we have distributed this amount of rice, but we never showed the pictures, right? We never showed anyone's giving someone pictures, but we showed the amount, this much amount has been distributed in this many villages to provide the accountability part, right? So interestingly, one guy reached out to me, right? One guy from Switzerland, and he was like, "You guys are doing amazing work, and then we are not seeing pictures, but we are seeing a lot of other things. So what is there?" So I said that this is something which we believe that I think, I mean, it's very okay to share pictures or show pictures of giving, but what we believe is that what we do with our right hand side should not, our left hand should not know about it, right? But just for the accountability part, we are putting it out so that the people from that villages will also know that this amount has been distributed, and this area, this much has been distributed. So like that, the group of friends from Switzerland contributed again. They are saying that we are very much happy, and these are people whom I don't even know, right? So after that, we were able to reach around 300, 400 families again, and then slowly, people started contributing as well. And then at last, we were able to reach around 3,000 families, and then the number, and around in 3 districts, we were able to give the PPE, the 95 maps in places where it's much needed, right? So I think it has been possible a lot because of collaboration, right? I think that is the biggest tool and power that we have right now. And again, with coming of social media, right? We talk a lot about bad things about social media, but I think social media can play a huge role in collaboration and the things that we can do beyond our imagination, right? Because the start of lockdown, I couldn't believe that I would be able to impact even 10 families, right? So that is there. So that's how we did it. And then I'm glad that it got recognized a little bit. And then, but the biggest blessing and the biggest takeaway is that in times of hardship, we were able to reach out to these families in need.
So like if you do good work, like it automatically reaches the people, means without knowing it reaches people. Like you don't require any kind of like show off, or like you have to tell people. It automatically reaches out. Also for the viewers, I just quote the amount what sir did, like 8 tons of rice, 3 tons of dal, and also he bought around 700 PPE kits, right, sir? 700 PPE kits and N95 masks, and he distributed throughout 3,000 families. Like it's an achievement. Like this is a secret service he did without like even anyone didn't covered it, but it was a service which he totally devoted throughout, and that's inspiration, sir. That's an inspiration
Thank you.
for us. I also say like you have been you are the founder of RREA. So just enlighten us about RREA and how what triggered you to begin with that.
Yeah. So I was mentioning to you like before the informal session that it is not overnight that I thought I will register my own organization and I will come back and work, right? It has been a long process, and I think it has been a long process of journeying, of trying to understand what really is needed, right? So as a growing up stage, I mean, because fortunately my father had always taken me to the place where he usually worked. My father is a teacher, right? So he used to travel a lot. So he used to always used to take me, and then I can see the lots of inequities, right? Because I again grew up, I was in a private school, but my father was working in a government school, and I always used to go wherever he goes. So so much effort has been given, but again, the huge scarcity of resource, accessibility to different other things, especially in government schools. So that always was in my mind. And then growing up again, having the privilege to study in Shillong. After that, I was in the Delhi University, and then again my master's in Delhi School of Social Work. During this whole period of time, I realized the importance of uplifting our community, right? How it should not be just one or two who goes to Delhi School of Social Work, but it should be so many people, the aspirations of so many students. They should be able to go wherever they want, and they should have that accessibility to be able to get a good education that they want, right? And then primarily not just about education, but so many other verticals needs to be developed, right? And then we are at risk communities, at risk community in the sense that we have long armed conflict going on, right? Lots of insurgents, the armed struggle is going on. And then we have the drugs, it's a trade route of the drugs, right? So lots of influx of drugs, and then so many, and it's a conflict setting. So it becomes very challenging and difficult, right? So how do we, the discussion that I had in my master's with my roommate, my other friends was that how do we do this? How do we go about it, right? So I had worked with Seva, and then I was working with informal workers, domestic workers, right? And then again, I was working with different children. Right? So that time I realized that I have to do something back for my community also. Right? I'm working everywhere, but in my community, as I look back, there was no one. So I thought that I should go back home, and then everyone from our communities are also going out. So I was like, it would be a good example, right? Nothing, just a small example of me going back and starting something of my own. So there would be a example for many others also to have that belief that somebody can come from outside, not everyone just going out. Because honestly telling you, I could have taken my campus placement or could have gone for my further studies, right? And then never come back to this place. So that was there. So when after my final semester, I had to decide whether I go for my further studies or to get a campus placement or to work in an organization who was paying me very well. But I packed my bags and I came home. And then I registered this Recognized Rise and Empower Association. It's a Section 8 company. It's under Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So we are with a vision to transform at-risk communities into sustainable development, sustainable communities, right? So we seek small change, but sustainable changes, right? And then that is how we have progressed for the last 3 years. And then we will talk more about what are things, different areas that we will be, that we are currently working in.
Like it's very heart touching, sir. Like you left that job which can pay you high, but still you chose like I should get back to my community and work for the development of theirs. So it's a huge respect for that. Like it requires really a gut to be there and working for them. And so like you said that influx of drugs and all this stuff, sir. So anything like you are thinking of like to stop them, because these are the things that always like alienate the community from their roots, right, sir? It always alienate the root of the communities, like these drugs or anything, these arms. So any thinking about that, like how could you stop that? Any thinking about that? Any thoughts you have about that?
I think stopping that is beyond me. And then I think I have not really thought about it also, because my whole idea, my whole vision is to just work in grassroots and to be able to help, to be able to be the enabler to this to the communities to uh, work towards development of in livelihood, in health, right? So better development in livelihood, health, education, so that the life becomes better, and then we have the choice to ignore, right? So most of the cases it becomes that you don't have a choice. So For me, it's about creating that accessibility, creating that space to be able to make a choice as an individual. So, I mean, drugs, the armed conflict, whatever it is that is happening in the region, I think it's again a political issue, and then that will be settled politically. And I think uh, it's something that we hope and wish that it should end soon, right? So that we deserve a place, and then we develop as a region as well.
Yes, sir. Like moving to this, with this point, I would like to move ahead. Like you are working, you are the founder of this Teach for Northeast, sir. So what does this Teach for Northeast do, and how it is realizing the dreams of the children out there, sir?
So Teach for Northeast, it's a 2-year fellowship. It's a teaching fellowship, right? Where the fellows will be working in the government schools. So we are focusing with the district, that is Kamjong district of Manipur. So these fellows, they are already in the schools, government schools, and they are working in the government schools already with specific objective of student outcomes. What are the outcomes that we seek from our students, right? With a specific objective of fellow outcomes, like we want to develop these fellows that we have recruited with a specific outcome that they build their own leadership, and then in the next, after they end their term as fellows, they take forward the educational movement, right, in the Northeast. And that's how we thought that it's a collective mission, and it cannot be a mission of just me, right? So through a collective vision and through a collective mission, the fellows can also carry forward a vision that one day every child in our region will have access to quality education, whether they become an IS officer, or whether they become a school teacher, or anywhere in any portion, that they will be able to spread our message and then create changes in whatever capacity they are, right? So that is the vision and goal of us. And then in the meantime, our students also have access to good teachers, because these fellows are being trained, right? And then they have access to good teachers, they have access to compassionate teachers, right? And then a teacher who believes in them and who creates that space for them, so that they, in their academic competencies, they will improve, in their social emotional learning they will improve, and then in the longer run we will be able to develop children who will be part of our future, right? And then they would be able to have the choice to study or to be whoever they want in their life. So that is Teach for Northeast in short.
Like, sir, what I think, like formal education, like teaching through blackboard is not enough. Like getting to students,
Yes.
getting that education imbibed in that requires emotion, effort, and thus understanding what frequency they are thinking. We should understand, right, sir? So it's a totally logical thing that you are training the young fellows and just making them the training them to be the part of this journey. So this is
Yes.
quite impressive, sir. So, sir, like these all things you are doing, sir, this is not a like one night game, right, sir? It has been developed in you within time. So what are the factors that helped you to develop this, or any particular incidents, might be incidents that helped you to develop this notion and come up with these ideas? What were they?
So yeah, so when we started the organization, we were just researching, right? Because we don't just want to come and impose that we are going to be doing this, right? So we started researching, and we're with the community, and then we're having a session with the community, like what really is needed. The community say that our education system needs to improve. Our children deserve a good education and a good space for them to get education and a good teacher. So we said, okay, then what we will do is that we'll test a model, right? We'll test a model whether it works or not. So we started with a pilot fellowship, right? So that was for 6 months. And then we brought in a fellow from Uttar Pradesh. So he is from Bareilly. And then he was the first fellow who came to us. And then he was with us for 6 months. So imagine someone from UP coming to the last mile community in Kamjong, and then being here with alone, right? And then working in school in a setting which is very hard. So lots of changes happened, and then the outcomes that we got was that after 6 months, the results of the students was very good. So now parents also started believing it, right? Because now most of the teachers had given up, but just one committed teacher, one who is so enthusiastic, someone who cares, someone who has who's working with specific outcomes, we were getting the result. now even teachers also started believing that, okay, we can do something with the students, because they were like, at first when we came in, they're like, nothing is going to happen with the students, right? So I think that huge transformational shift in the mindset played a big role. And then just after that, Teach for India reached out to us and they said that we have a TFIX incubation. And if you want to incubate with us. So we applied, and then fortunately we got, with the belief that they had on us. And then we incubated for 1 year, where we, uh, with 10 other organizations from the country. And then we had lots of cross learning, right? What are the of different settings is. So some were working in conflict region in Kashmir, some in MP, some in Bombay. So there were lots of learning, and this had refined us towards what we are now. So whatever we have now is not what I exactly want. I want so much beyond, but this is exactly where I want to start, right? So it's, in the next coming years, it's going to get refined better and better with experiences. And I just don't want a perfect model or anything. I want to learn more with mistakes, with experiences, so that according to my context, so that I think it's sustainable in a longer way, right? So that's how we came up with Teach for Northeast. And then we are full swing. And then I'm so happy, so excited, because we got around 400 applicants from all over the country. And then we interviewed around 200 something telephonic interview. And then we cut down to the personal interview to around 70. And then finally we selected only 7.
That's very tough, I think. Very tough. It's very tough.
Yeah.
No, like, yes, sir. It should be the way, because you are going to teach someone. So you should be the not perfect, but you should be highly experienced to teach someone, right, sir? Because
So
you're
even
not.
for us, also, we were supposed to select 10 fellows, right? But we selected only 7, because, I mean, there were lots of candidates, but we thought that it is not just about experiences, but who believes in our vision, and then who we thought that it's a good fit.
Yeah.
If there is no fit, compatibility is not there, then I think for us, the vision that we have and the fellows that we have, I think it's going to match. So that's why we didn't take it, because we were supposed to get 10, and we already had the funds for 3 more, so, but we didn't take it.
It requires, like, the idea which you are believing, the same fellow should believe on that idea too, because it requires a collaboration to work together, right, sir? So yeah, like, this is what I say, like, you are saying that get lessons, I will do mistakes, I don't want a perfect model. And i I'm totally sure, sir, this attitude of yours will surely make you success one day. Means you are already successful, but what you are going to achieve, you will
Yeah.
surely, because this is the sign of a successful man. I do believe, sir. I do believe, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do believe. So, sir, like, you are doing the work on this education sector as well.
Yeah.
You are doing a part on sports sector as well. What I was going to the article. So, like, what do you think? What's your take on how this education and sports empowers society, sir? What's your take on that?
So sports, why we are using sports is also that the spaces that we have usually in education system right now, right? It becomes very challenging for students, because I have many cousins, I have many younger brothers who carry this much big of bags and then go to school whole day on class, and comes back, reads, sleep, wake up early in the morning, reads, go back. That becomes a huge challenge. Learning never was, and learning is not fun anymore, right? So the whole period of childhood where you need to have lots of fun, it's not there anymore, right? And then especially in conflict area, it becomes much more challenging, because you have so many other issues. You have temptation for drugs, you have influences of different groups, and ethnic conflicts are there, right? So what we thought was that in school, let's provide a space where they can come and just be very free, right? So we did a pilot, a testing. So the school where we were working was different. There were different communities, right? And we saw in the school that some communities, they were just together. They were not mingling with other community students, right? So we said that let's start a football grassroots program for both boys and girls, right? So we started with Tata Trust, and then a small program. And then now what we saw was that when they are in the field, they forgot everything, where they come from, who they are, what they are, right? Now, after that also, the team that bonds, the bonding has been different, irrespective of who they are, where they come from, right? We wanted to create something like this, a space Now, this was I think it was a evidence for us that if we could create such spaces and if we could provide them a timing for them to have such spaces, it is impacting a lot, because in terms of interpersonal skills, how they interact with people from different communities, as well as their approaches to life, as well as their approaches to how as a human being would be, the values, right? It's not about quantity that, okay, fine, after being taken into sports, they are doing well, they are more disciplined, not just on that quantity, but in the qualitative aspects of like how they are as a personality, right? So we thought that these are evidence that has been created. So now what we are launching full scale in the schools where we are placing our fellows. So it's going to be they're going to be having a special so where they will have a proper timing for sports, and then we are going to be generating evidences as well, and then they will be provided with the kits, they will provide it with everything that they need. And then in the meantime we are looking at long term also, that if some of them has deep interest in it and they have the skill, they have the quality or determination to go along with, and we are going to provide that linkages for them as well, or if not, just the safe spaces of being free in the school. So that's how we started Sports for Development, and this is going to be introduced in 3 schools now.
Also, like the thinking, the ahead thinking you thought of like how to mingle them. Yeah, like truly speaking, sir, I have experienced this. Like when in my hostel, when I used to play, like you have a fight today morning, but when you start playing, like it gets over. You like you come over again and you again mingle in the evening. So, sir, yeah, sports is one of the way to mingle all the communities together. And what you are saying, like you got the results. So, like, sir, I'm saying you are experimenting and you're getting the result. This is the best thing that you are going to learn. If you fall back, then you will know, right? Yeah, this was the wrong thing. So, yeah, sir.
For
So,
example, just an example also, like if we when we watch a football or cricket, right? When the
yes,
country plays, irrespective of whoever, whatever you are,
yeah, yeah,
all of
yeah,
you become very united, right? So I
yeah.
think this feel it cross boundaries, right? And then the respect, it's very immense, right? So yeah.
Yeah, you said it right. Like, if you like, it happens like we are of different communities, different. But yeah, once the sports started, no one says who we are. We are just the same thing. Yeah, sir. So like you are having this much of experience of being a professional social worker. So like everything have the two sides, right, sir? A pro, a cons. Like you said, that social media thing, like it has a pro, it has a cons, right, sir? So being a social worker, if I ask you, like can you quote about this, about the pros and cons of being a social worker? What are they, if any?
Yeah, so I think uh, the responsibility of the social problems, you feel like that it's all on you. And that's a problem, because that's why I was thinking. I think it was just some days back. I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was like that we cannot be in this sector for long. If we are development practitioner and if we are social worker, I don't think will live long, because the tension, the pressure, the responsibility is too huge, and then we feel that because impact wise people will see that it's a huge impact, but for us we feel that so many problems are there, and then we have just started, it's never going to ending. So sometimes we get very overwhelming also, right? So and again, coming back to your individual aspiration, right? As personal for me, example, if it's personally for me, I would want to do so many things. I have so many things to do, that I want to do in life, right? But you have taken that commitment, you have taken up that ownership of what you want to do and why you want to do. So your personal aspirations become very lesser, right? And then I mean personal aspirations in the sense that this uh, working with the society is also an aspiration of you. But again, the most innate personal experiences that you might have or one might have, right? That becomes very minimal. And then I think this is one area which us social workers needs to work on, and then we have to give time for ourselves, right? Because if not, we are going to burn out. I remember like the last 4 months since lockdown started and COVID started, and I was given a additional responsibility. I had started, I started feeling that I was having an anxiety, right? Lots of problems because I was getting calls. Because I was in the control room. I was getting calls in one day, 2,000 calls, right? And then again, calling out around 500 to 1,000 calls. Oh, now while I was trying to get some sleep for some time, I always imagining it that I might get a cold. I couldn't sleep. Then ultimately I thought this cannot go on. I'll have to take a break. And I took a break for 2-3 days without anything and then came back. So I think we might burn out in the process. So I think it's so important that as social workers, as development practitioners, we need to be aware and be mindful of us ourselves, and we need to take care of ourselves. If not, then I think because the work that we can do in 10 years, if we burn out in 5 years, that doesn't make sense, right? So
Yeah.
I think on a very important, not just for social workers, but for everyone. No? Excuse me. Whatever we are doing, wherever we are, in whatever capacity that we are, we need to take time out for ourselves. I think if that is there, then I think there should be a proper balance on the pros and cons.
Yeah, so we have to make a balance. Yeah, it is difficult, like maintaining your professional life and maintaining your personal family life. Like it is quite difficult. And I hope so. I'll experience the same situation very soon. I know that. So I'll feel better that time. Like yeah, sir said the right thing. So sir, like if you talk about Northeast, coming to Northeast, there is always like one thing that pops out in mind being you from being Northeast or being anyone from our Indian subcontinent, it pops out that like there is the scarcity of I won't say resources, but the basic services that we can access throughout the country. There is scarcity, and it's true, it's a fact. So, what do you think that social worker how can mitigate this with the help of their own people? Sir?
Hmm. So I think this is because of globalization, and then because of the huge rapid industrialization. I think development is catching up, right? And then how we see development again plays a big, very important role, right? So in our communities, scarcity again, it talks about it, a lot depends on lifestyle again. Okay, so in the places where we're working, the contentment is there in the sense that some people, for them, if they are having rice, if they are having good access to doctors, there's good access to, or if they have good access to school, I think the people are content with it, right? And now the problem is that because of globalization, example, many of our youths and migrants had gone out of the state and working in Bangalore, Guwahati, Delhi. Now they have come back. Okay, I'm just giving an example. Now they have come back, and then because of COVID, and then now after quarantine process, they are at home. Now, because of the lifestyle that we have had outside, even us also, right?
Yeah,
We have access to fast food, we have access to delivery, we have access to good internet speed, we have access to Netflix. Now suddenly you're back in the village, right? Now you feel that there are no resources around you. And it becomes
yeah,
very challenging for you.
yeah,
But for the people who have been staying here, for them, the resource that is around them, it's very much okay for them, right?
yeah,
So how we see resources as, but like you said, in terms of infrastructure, right? Because ours is again now one of the most underdeveloped regions of the country, right? In terms of infrastructure, in terms of basic amenities, right? So I think the government is also playing an active role to bridge this gap, but there are lots of leakages. I won't deny that, and I think we people should hold the people in power who are in this position accountable for what they are doing, right? But I guess as a social worker, looking at the perspective of the non-profit organization that we're working, I think resources are quite less here because again, we have very less companies, big companies or anything where we can talk about CSR funds or other. But right now, focus have started coming in the Northeast also that lots of foundations, lots of non-profits, as well as lots of HNIs, and then lots of companies are also trying to shift the focus towards Northeast, and then that's a good step. But it's a long way to go comparing to what is there in other parts of the country. So resource wise is getting better, and then accessibility is also getting better, but the worry is because human wants are also unlimited, right? So
yeah.
when we talk about resources in our communities, it's about it all comes down to lifestyle and then how we see look at resources.
Yes, sir. You can have all this but I think once this part of the country gets back to the track of industrialization, I think this gap would be bridged very fast if once the companies comes and everything that happens very that gives this northeast a part of getting a modern thing like what other parts of the country, and I think this will bridge the gap as soon as possible.
But again, there's a catch, no? So uh, if I were to say personally, for me
Yeah.
personally, what things to be like this example, right? I want this very slow pace of life that we have here. I like the resource, the greeneries, and then very less people here. The density is very less, right? And then
Yeah.
resources are limited, but we are happy. Example, right?
Yeah.
Again, uh, but in some aspect, we need to catch up with globalization also, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, the world is already in the fifth phase of industrial revolution, and here
Yeah.
we are just at the third, right?
Yeah.
So, example, we coming to new education policy. Now, India as a country is also seeing that by sixth standard, uh, students are expected to start coding, right?
Yeah.
So, or if not have access to technology, or they're going to introduce to examples of entrepreneurship, blockchain, whatever it is, right? But in the places where we are, it's still about basic blackboard classrooms, right? And it's still about teachers. And then for a graduate or even for a master's, to have access to desktop computer, personal desktop computer, it's a huge thing, because the standard of living is also still very low, right? The economic capacities are also very low. So we need to bridge that gap also, because the world is heading towards AI, right? And the world is just heading moving forward. And we cannot say they will be at this level all the time, right? So we have to catch up, but there has to be balance. That's what I would say.
So like you started with this National Education Policy 2020. So I got a question to ask on this, right? So like, what do you think about this National Education Policy? Would literally like it will help, like you have some faith on this, like anything that you want to comment on National Education Policy?
The intent is very good, right? The intent of because we barely need a policy again change, right? And then coming from top down, it's good. I mean, how it works or how it not works, that's another question. And implementation, how it will be get implemented. But the dialogue has to start,
Yeah.
because we are lagging so much behind, right? So the intent is very good. We are talking about professional development of teachers, right? We are talking about uses of technology. We are talking about focusing on numeracy and in lower classes and all, right? So intent is very good, but how it uh, gets implemented in the field and different states, how they get implemented, and then uh, without questioning or without changing the system, existing system, which is a failure in places like Manipur, the government schools, and that becomes a challenge, right? So we need to address the issues, local issues also, right? Because we are talking about teachers who are not there, right? We are talking about proxy teachers. We need to address, because if the policy is also there, but if it's the same teachers who are not teaching, then that becomes a problem, right? So that the local context, the challenges needs to be sorted out also, so that education policy also we can look forward and move forward with it. If not, if we don't solve the local challenges, then I don't see much uh, growth with the NAP. But it's the intent is very good, and then I think it's a good step to start with.
What I was listening to that the NEP has also introduced a vocational course that every student should take. So what I think on other way around, like if suppose in Manipur, if you have something of like using resources and you building, like if a community builds something like using some resource. So like what now education teaches us is only the blackboard and a pen paper method. You don't have access to like that vocational courses. So if in Manipur, if someone takes that course, so he will automatically get connected to its cultural roots, right, sir? I think that's one of the benefit, that one can get connected to its cultural roots again back being on that national education policy. Yeah, sir, that's great, and that's you quoted it well. So like moving to the end of the session, sir, if I ask you like your ideal and your ultimate goal for this journey that you want to give back to the society, then what's your ideal and your ultimate goal that you want to, that you can share with us?
So the goal is so big, the vision is so big. So it is something which I might see in my lifetime, or I might not be able to see in my lifetime, or uh, we never know how it will turn out. But the intention is that we take one day at a time, right? The goal is that every child in this country, every child in this region should have access to quality education. There has to be equity, right? So I should not be the only one who gets good education, good teachers, good accessibility to technology. But every child from my region should also have that accessibility. They should have the opportunity to have that good teacher, same like as I do, right? So that is the vision, that so that they may choose their own path. So whether they become a doctor, engineer, a farmer, whatever they are, in whatever capacity that they are, right? Uh, it should be a choice that they took, right? It should not be a choice they had to take up because they were not having access to opportunities, right? We have many people, you must be knowing also that we have PhDs who has come back and become sweepers, example. That is not a choice that they have taken. That is out of necessity, right? So I hope and believe that each and every child should have access to quality education, right? And they start taking ownership of our place around, and we hope to see our region a very peaceful and a region full of development. And then not just that, we play a big role in taking forward through the heritage and then what we are as a people, right? So that is the vision, and not just for education, but in terms of the other verticals like other health, and all the this thing, human index, like health, livelihood, it should get improved so that everyone has a good life. And then there's a saying like, if everyone in the world does not have access to everything, to the same thing, then it's not a just world, right? I mean, it's a long dream. It's a long dream for my vision, for my region. But yeah, that's the hope that I have, that uh, things should get better, a little bit better. Then it will happen in my lifetime or not. That is uh, that, or the journey itself will say, and then someday some people will witness it.
Yes, sir. I'll just say, you just continue the journey. It happens or not, but yeah, you tried, because when you look back to your life like the last time, and you would be happy, like, yeah, I did what I was wanting. It didn't happen, that's not, but I at least tried. You won't regret, right, sir?
And the struggle is not about years or anything. The struggle is one day at a time. No, so today it's a new challenge. Tomorrow it's gonna be another new challenge, right?
Yeah.
And every day it's a process that we go along, and then we refine ourselves as individuals, as a social worker, or as a person, right? And that's how we build our characters also, so that
Yeah.
it's a ripple effect, right? If the work, somebody, example, this year I have 7 fellows. After 2 years, I know that my 7 fellows will be somewhere taking this educational movement forward, right?
Yeah.
And then my students, once they pass out, this 700, 800 students, they will also feel connected because we have started work, and they know that how important it is. Now the 700 students impacting another 700 students, right? And these
Yeah.
7 fellows impacting another seven, and then it's gonna go on, right? And so I'm very excited what we have. I hope and pray that everything works out well and there are no disturbances, and then we are able to continue this journey. And then I hope someday soon that we will be able to look back and then be very happy. And even now I'm very happy, but be very happy of where we started and where we are. And
Yes,
thank you
sir.
so much for having me here.
It's my pleasure that you joined with us. That it's my pleasure. I would like to thank you, and from my bottom of the heart, sir, I will just wish you all the best with whatever you do, and may God bless you with a lot of success and health in the future lives, sir. It's my prayer to God, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining with us. So yes, viewers, this was the story from Manipur. I hope that you liked it, and stay tuned, and we will be back with new episode of podcast series. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Bye bye.